All right, so the reason that you went and found these objects is because it really helps to have an actual thing to manipulate and help you figure out how it works spatially. So your next assignment is what I call forms from different perspectives. But here's the general idea. As you take one of these forms and you move it through space, the way that it looks is going to change. So here's my little example of a cone. If I turn it and twist it in space, the way that ellipse shows up on the bottom changes and the whole structure changes. So what we're actually going to try to do is take these objects and move them around on your desk or just hold them and try to draw them from different vantage points. I got my battery again, a good example of a cylinder. So you can see as I turn it and twist it, we get different shapes or different ellipses on the top and bottom. I found this little squirt bottle too. It's kind of a mixture of a cylinder and a cone together in a box. But let's talk about space in general. There's kind of what I call front-facing objects, where if I hold it like this and the front is towards you and I move it around in space, this is one-point perspective. There's another way to do it, which is edge-facing, which is two-point perspective. So here we've got our edge towards us, and then we've got the kind of corners pointing away. So what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to switch here in a minute to my desk example and kind of talk about it, is draw each one of these forms that we're working with from a different vantage point. So 1 second, I'll switch the view. So here we are, got my desk. We've got some objects to look at. We've already practiced with cylinders when we did our bottle drawing. But let's talk about cubes and some other shapes too. And here's the general idea, and this is why it helps to have the actual object, is as I move this thing around in different ways, it's a completely different drawing each time. So take your objects and then start turning them and twisting them, and then try to draw it from those different vantage points. And some of you are like really good at drawing cubes and cubic forms, but it takes practice, and the more you do it, the better you get. And my original cone was super tiny, this little cap, so I made one out of paper as an example for myself, and then that way I can flip it around on my desk and then look at different ways in which I could try to draw the cone from different vantage points. So I originally started in pencil here, and I started reworking it in pen so you could see better, but that's the general idea, is try to draw your forms from different perspectives. So here I took my cubic form, I drew it straight on. I drew it from an upper view, a lower view, and I just kind of moved it around and tried to draw it from each direction as I was looking at it. So it's supposed to be manipulating space kind of like this with the front face. Over here are my edge face examples. Here's a bunch of cones that I did, a whole bunch of cylinders, and I started kind of doing this tapered cylinder idea too. Another object you might look for, roll of tape, is a good example of a cylinder, especially when you start to kind of twist it and move it into space. So that's your next assignment. Forms from different perspectives. Try to do 5 different views for each one of your forms. And mine are pretty small. You don't have to draw it super huge, but more than anything, you're working on manipulating space. You're working on trying to draw it from different vantage points.